All right, there we go. All right, we still got some people coming in here, but we're gonna just go ahead and get started. All right. Like I said, today is our last actual like class or teaching session in the boot camp. So again, for those that just got on, congratulations. Really, really proud of you guys. And I think I just saw a question. Was yesterday's, yes, yesterday's session was uploaded. Sorry, that caught my eye because I'm like, did I forget to upload it? Did you guys see yesterday's session recording? Yes. Okay, good. All right, just making sure. If you still can't find it by the end, I'll make sure that you can find it. Okay, yes, camera is working today. All right, so today we're going to be going over basically all the steps of the strategy. So we're just going to go through an example on the chart, and then we're going to go through trading psychology because that is very, 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 very important. Oh, good job, Jeff. Jeff made $1,000 today. Good job. All right, so like I said, that's what we're doing today. Also, I told you guys yesterday, I added another video and quiz under day 5. If you guys do want to practice that and help further your understanding of what we talked about yesterday regarding risk management. Okay. So if you want to do that, you could do that. It's up there, it's uploaded. I think Carmen is in here now. She's our moderator, and then Michelle will be showing up later. Okay, she's running a little late. So again, just for anyone who's new or just happened to get on only today, if you see them talking in the chat, Michelle or Carmen, those are good people to listen to. All right, and then don't forget, guys, tomorrow is our Q&A session. So we're gonna get through everything today, finalize everything that we need to talk about, and then tomorrow, you guys get on, you ask all the questions that you need to ask, and I will go to the Learning Hub at the end to answer your question about finding the video in the quiz, just so you guys can find it if you can't find it right now. All right, so just to briefly recap the steps in the strategy, here we go. All right, we have 3 sections, which we have finally gotten through all of them. We have the identify part, which we talked about early last week, where we're identifying key areas on the chart, okay, that we want to be active at. This is going to be our support and resistance levels, our trend lines, chart patterns, supply, demand zones, balances, imbalances, and then also our levels from order flow that we talked about. All right, the second part of the strategy, once you have figured out where you even want to take your trades at, you have your daily levels set, all the levels marked out on the chart. Now we can figure out how to confirm or analyze our trades or see if we need to even get in a trade at this level. So confirming when and why you want to actively participate in the market and enter a trade. All right, we covered that, analyzing all these different things. And then yesterday we finally talked about the trading aspect of everything, managing risk, using proper stop loss, target, position sizes, all that kind of stuff, still using all of those key levels that we've already talked about, like it says here. Okay, so again, like I've been saying this whole time, the key levels are identifying is going to be the foundation of everything else because our entries, our stop losses, our targets, everything is going to be based off that. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the chart and I'm just going to go through, I'll just go through today's session because I saw somebody wanted me to go through today's session. Okay, so I'll do that. I didn't trade today. I watched it though. I watched the market while I was working. Some of you guys may have actually seen me updating the levels on the chart, you know, while you guys had it open. So I don't know if you guys saw that. But anyways, we'll cover about the first 30 minutes of open, and then we'll just talk about a potential trade setup, and then we'll actually walk through a full setup together so that we can go through the strategy step by step again, just so you guys can see. Okay? So now I'm going to the chart. I'm going to the chart, chart. Oh, good job, Tim. Yes, you should be able to see my chart when I update it. Yeah. Because in the Discord, I send a link to my live chart. So if I do ever update it during the session, like add extra levels or just whatever the case may be, yeah, you should be able to see it. I didn't know that actually until like a few weeks ago, and someone told me they saw me doing this. So I figured I would just go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is, oh, I'm not even sharing the screen yet. One second. Let me get over here. I thought I was over here, but I'm not. There we go. All right. So this is the chart from today. I'm not going to zoom all the way out. It's just so many levels, goodness. Okay. So I'm just going to focus on where we're going to be focusing on, and then I'll show this also. Some of you guys may have seen this in the Discord pinned, or someone sent it a while ago in the chat. But we'll just have this up while we walk through everything today, just as a little guide to help you guys. Okay, so today, you know, all the levels we had, most of you guys do. if you were on this morning and looked in the daily levels. But these are our daily levels. These are all the levels that we had this morning. And so just as far as the levels that were closest to price, this is what we said. This is what we were looking for. Okay. For longs, if price can hold above 800 and buyers end up stepping in, then I'd be interested in longs. I would look for price to break and close below the level and then back above with aggressive buying, or just look for a lower time frame entry like resistance or a trend line. So the initial thing I was looking at, because this is past open. Okay, so when I was actually typing this out, we were well above this 800 level. Okay, so I was basically saying if we end up holding this 800 level, we can see longs come in, right? And then after that, I mentioned getting above, our key levels and then using all these levels above as targets, right? 900, 925, 950, 25,000, and so on as targets. Okay. However, you can see we actually ended up breaking below that level during pre-market, which I also did mention that in the Discord, where I said right here for shorts, if price ends up breaking and closing below the 800 level with aggressive selling pressure, I would be interested in shorts targeting 715, 700, 650, and into the zone below. Also, if any of the levels become invalidated, just take them off. All right. So the point is, what happened or what I talked about happening in the daily levels actually happened before open. So we actually had the break of 800, very nice, clean break of 800. We retested the level and we actually ended up coming down and we actually hit 750 before even being able to come to 715, which is the levels I mentioned in the daily levels. Reason being, if you was looking at Bookmap this morning, you can see here, if you look at the time, let's see, make sure you guys can see. But if you look at the time at the bottom, this 9:15 a.m., this is my time, okay? You can see we actually had buyers pop in at 750. You can see the 100 there at the 750 level. All right, you can also see buyers pop in at 730, okay? And 700, okay? So you can see buyers actually popped in there and they weren't there early this morning when I was typing out my levels. They wasn't hitting the thresholds, okay, that I like to add. So we ended up coming down. We never even got down to 715. We ended up tapping that 750 level and reversing. And then eventually we got to open, and this was the opening candle. So this green candle here was the opening candle. So at this point, we had already broken past the 800 level, and now we have all these other levels on the chart that we can still use. So obviously, we retest it, we come down again. And a lot of you guys know when we're talking about having buyers or having sellers, an entry that I will take a lot of the times is where we break below the level and then we close back above the level with nice buying pressure. And so in this case, I'm actually going to move down to the 15 second while I talk about today so that you guys can see where I would have had entries at, okay, based on the daily levels and based on what I said, okay? All right. So looking at this here, that same thing that I talk about, or that concept of breaking below and then back above, you can see that happen here at this 750 level. We ended up breaking below that level. We closed back above on the 15 second. If you're using the 1 minute, obviously you would not have been able to get an entry this low. Okay. So if you would have gotten into a trade or gotten into longs down at this 750 level, then you would have been fine. You would have caught a pretty decent move up to that next level, which is that 800 level, right? Almost 300 ticks. However, if you were only using the 1 minute and you got into longs above 750 or even above 800, because that kind of looks like the trade example we took yesterday, where we had buyers down at 750. And then we had, or not at 750, but we had buyers down at a specific level. And then we formed a double bottom. And then we got into longs basically at the break of this level here, right? Same thing today. However, the market just didn't want to continue moving up today. And that's why I told you guys can follow the plan every single time. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a 100% win rate. Sometimes the market is just going to do whatever the market wants to do. And it's your job to, like I said before, protect your position, manage your stop loss properly, and adjust after that, right? So today, if I would have gotten into longs here on the 1 minute and then added into the position above the 800 level, my average entry would have been right around here. And I honestly would have got stopped out at break even. A lot of you guys know the market ended up coming down after this. Okay. So just to show you guys potential setup from this morning was longs above 750. But because we never continued to move above 800 to the next levels, price ended up reversing. So if you was in longs and you didn't close the position above this level, you would have got stopped out either at break even or somewhere in profit or even red if you never moved your stop loss. Okay. So that was just initial trade that could have been taken. But now I'm gonna walk through a trade step by step by step so you guys can see, the strategy and everything, kind of like we did yesterday. Instead of doing longs, I didn't want to use this example because it's so similar to yesterday. I want to do a short example. Okay. So, and I'm still going to use the 15 second. All right. So, anyways, like I said, we ended up breaking above the 800 level. Obviously, I'm speaking in hindsight, so I already know what's going to happen. But if you were to get into longs here, eventually you would get stopped out. Okay, you can see here what starts to happen is we ended up breaking above that 800 level. Initially, volume was looking good, right? It was. But we couldn't sustain it. We have the sellers up at this 850 level. We have this 5 minute level up here. We're not quite at it, but price is struggling to even continue to have that aggressive buying pressure above the 800 level. We can see, like I said, initial volume is good, but we get that immediate rejection. Okay. And then what starts to happen? We start to see absorption here, right? Right at these levels. And we're not seeing that aggressive buying that we like to see once we pass a level. Because remember, when we're analyzing price and volume, we like to see is, or in this case, are buyers still aggressive even though we're past this level? If not, then it's just probably not going to work out. Okay, so this is where adjusting comes in. Like I said, in real life, honestly, I probably would have gotten stopped out at either break even or just somewhere in profit in longs. And once I started to see this, as I was watching this morning, I was like, okay, it doesn't seem like we're going to continue moving up. Okay, you can see the absorption, like I said. Buyers initially strong, but they struggle to continue above the level. And I'm gonna go to the 15 second now so you guys can see the entry a bit, right? Or just see things a little bit more clearly. All right, but you can see here on this 15 second, we have the absorption on the 1 minute, but on the 15, we have this clear area where we're kind of just consolidating in between, right? We're just moving sideways, moving very, very sideways in between this level here, okay, or right above this level. So you can say to yourself, well, if price does continue to move up and break above this level and can clear 850, 843, then we can go long, of course, and then we can target those next levels up. But again, like I said, we had all of that absorption above this 800 level. These buyers keep trying to come in, they're struggling. Okay, so this lets me know clearly these buyers are struggling to come in above the 800 level. Obviously, if we get back below it, then these sellers can potentially continue to push price down. Okay, so I'm going to bring this over here just so we can see. This is just a little checklist for you. Make sure you're at your key level. So what key level do we have right now? We have the previous buyer's level, which, I told you guys, even though we don't have active liquidity sitting there, I want to still use the level if it's still being respected. So I would use it as a watch level, but also it's just technically support at this point. We have all these touches at the level. Okay, so we have a key level that we can use, right? When we're talking about confirming if this trade is going to be valid or can we actually take a trade at this level? Well, yes, we are at this now level of support or this watch level, whatever you want to call it. And we have absorption above price on that 1 minute. Remember, we had all the wicks. Those buyers were struggling, struggling, struggling. And so to me at this point, like it says here, we saw the exhaustion above the level. Okay. It wasn't strong. It wasn't very aggressive buying. Okay. This tells me, well, now at this point, I can probably start looking for shorts if we can clear below that level of support that we now have. Okay, that previous level where we had buyers. Okay, so at this point, now you can start planning the trade out. Remember, I told you guys that we want to plan for the trade, every single trade, before we even get in. I need to know everything. Okay, every single thing. All right, so the first thing when we figure out the direction of the trade that we're about to get in is where do we place our stop loss? If we're going to get into this trade, where are we now incorrect? Remember, we talked about our stop loss being an area that is set according to the technicals, right? So any of our key levels. And you can ask yourself, well, if the trade ends up going against me, where is it invalidated? Or if I was in the opposite position, where would I be happy at? So if I'm getting into shorts, right? If I get into shorts below 800, for example, if we get back above 800, I'm not going to be happy anymore, right? If I was in longs, I'd be happy. Okay, so that's going to be the level I use. You can ask yourself that if it's hard to figure it out. Okay, so right now, I know if we get below 800, I'm interested in being in shorts. So obviously, I want to have my stop above the 800 level. Okay, so remember, I told you guys, make sure you are not placing your stop loss directly on the level so that you avoid just getting stopped out. Okay, and then the market goes in your direction. So instead of doing something like this, where you get into shorts and then you have the stop loss right on 800. I told you guys always go about 10 to 20 points above. Okay, 10 to 20 points now. So if the level's 800, I can go 810 or 815, 820. Okay, so I'll go in the middle of that. I'll just go right around 12 points. Okay, a little above 10. I mean, we can do whatever. 15 if you want to go half in between 10 and 20. If the market is a little bit more volatile, maybe you might have to make it a little bit bigger, give it a little bit more room. But today was a pretty normal day. We had a lot of up and down movement, yes, but it wasn't anything too crazy, okay, as far as volatility. I've seen worse. Okay. So, anyways, we're not going to worry too much about the take profit right now. All we need to focus on first is where are we going to be placing our stop loss? That's the first thing. That's the only thing we can control. That's the only thing that we need to be worrying about first. Okay. So now that we know that, we know where our stop loss is at. We know where we want to potentially get our entry. Obviously, if we just break below this 800 level, then we'll be using that as our entry. So somewhere around there. So now at this point, we can go ahead and calculate our position size. Like it says here, position size calculated. Okay. So we need to figure out how many contracts can we be in to maintain this risk or our risk, right? Everyone's risk, like I said, is going to be individual to you. It's going to be different. I might be willing to risk $1,000 per trade. You might be willing to risk 100. You might be willing to risk 500. You might be willing to risk 5,000. I don't know. But the point is, we're all going to have different numbers, okay? And that's why we need to use the formula that we talked about yesterday to be able to calculate our position size. All right? So right now, we know where our stop is going to be at. We know where we want to potentially get our entry at. And so that gives us about a 93 tick stop loss. You can see here 93 ticks, okay? Or 23.25 points. All right? So same thing. And you can do this math yourself. Like if you want to practice right now, choosing a number that you would be risking, you could do that. All right? So you can practice. So I'm going to do 1,000, just like I did yesterday. And if I'm risking $1,000 per trade, I need to ask myself, how many contracts can I be in? All right, so you can always, like I said, use this calculator here in TradingView. Remember, by clicking on the little trade thing at the top, you can log into either your broker or paper trading and just use this if you need to. Okay, so I know I have, what is it, a 93 tick stop loss. All right. So if my stop loss is 93 ticks, and remember, we're not worried about take profit right now. We're just focusing on making sure that if we get into this trade and it goes against us at any point, we're good, we're protected. All right. That's all we need to worry about first. And it seems like a really long process, right now, but I'm really just breaking it down for you. In real life, I can do this in like 5 seconds. Measure the stop loss, figure out my position size, and be done with it. Okay? So it's not really this long of a process in real life once you get used to it. I just want to make sure that you guys understand everything. Okay? So if I have a 93 tick stop loss, remember what I told you guys. You don't just hop into a random amount of contracts, right? Like I used to do. 10 contracts, 5 contracts, whatever. If I hop into 5 contracts, like I said yesterday, I'm going to be risking way too much. Look down here, $2,325. That's way more than $1,000. I can't risk that much, okay? So I need to size down. All right. Can I be in 3 contracts? No, that's 1,395. All right. So we're just going to keep going down until we see how many contracts we can be in. And it looks like 930 is going to be the number because I'm comfortable with risking 1,000. That's right there. All right, so I can be in 2 contracts this time to maintain my risk. Remember yesterday the trade we got in and had a little bit of a bigger stop loss. So I could actually only be in 1 contract. So that's why it's very important that from trade to trade, if you are having a really big stop loss, sometimes a really small stop loss, you adjust your position size based on the stop loss and your entry point so that you can always maintain that dollar risk and stay consistent. Like I said, you don't want to lose $5,000 one trade and 200 another trade and then 1,000 another trade and then 200 and then it just doesn't, it's no consistency there, right? You want to at least have one independent variable, which is going to be the risk. That's the only thing you can control. Okay. So now that we know our position size, our stop loss, our entry point, now we can start focusing on if we do get into this trade, we can get out. Where do we get out? Okay. All right. So we have all these levels below price. Remember, when we're talking about our stop loss or our take profit, trailing stop loss, adding into a position, all of those things are at key levels. And that's really great that we already mark out our key levels. Okay. So we have 750, 730. Remember, these formed kind of after I sent the daily levels, like I just showed you on Bookmap. So we had buyers at 750, buyers at 730, and then 30-minute level at 715, buyers at 700, buyers at 650, and then the zone below with all the other buyers at 620, 615, 605, 600. Okay, so all of these levels are our take profit levels. It just depends on where price decides to go. Like I told you guys, that's why I like to use a trailing stop loss because it gives me flexibility. I don't have to just close the position just because price hit my take profit. I have the opportunity to continue making more because I didn't just close the trade. All right, we also talked about adding. And so remember, I told you guys I'll usually add at the first key level that we have, which in this case is just going to be 750. So if we were to end up breaking 750 with aggressive, selling pressure or prices just flushing, then that could be a good level for me to add at, right? I don't like to add too late into the trade just because, it gets to a point where it's going to have to eventually turn around most of the time. Okay. So 750 would be the level I add at unless some other lower time frame level forms before then. Okay. So we know everything. The entire trade is planned out. We know all the levels because we already did our charting. Okay. So at this point, we can just go ahead and take the trade. All right. So at this point, we know the contracts that we can be in, which is two. And I'm just going to go ahead and enter the trade when we get the break of 800. All right. So I don't know when it's actually going to break. I don't want to go too fast. Okay, right there. All right, so now we have the break right here, and it looks like the entry is just a little bit lower, still under 100 ticks, so we're still going to be able to be in two contracts. All right, so we get short here, right? We place our stop loss, okay, and we place our take profit if you want. I always have it set, but it never actually hits because I'm always trailing my stop loss. All right, so initial, stop loss is 990. We're not too worried about this down here, but we'll just trade. All right. So we're under our risk. We're trading now, and now we just do it. Again, I'm on the 15-second chart. You can see we're able to get that early entry. Same thing as being able to get the early entry here at 750 because we can see the close above the level. Obviously, on the 1 minute, the close is all the way up here, okay, right around 780. So that's about 30-point difference from using the 15-second chart. All right, so here we go. Just going, going, going. All right, remember I told you guys I don't move to break even until we start to get right at our first TP area and past it. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and add to the position. Okay, that's just me. I like to give my trades room to breathe. And guys, remember with trading, it's really always up to you what you want to do. If you're somebody who just wants to, get into the trade, take profit at your first level, or whatever the case may be, you can do that. I'm just letting you guys know that there are other ways that can help you maximize your profits, which is why I like to add, which is why I like to trail as opposed to just closing the trade. Okay. But ultimately, what you decide to do is up to you. Like if you decide to use the 1 minute chart, that's up to you. You decide to use the 15-second, that's up to you. Okay. I'm just giving you guys all the options. Okay. So, anyways, we kind of do have a break right below this 750 level. Okay. We have this nice red candle. I would add here as we see volume stepping in aggressively, right? Because before we kind of move down, we pull up, move down, pull up. Obviously, it's the 15-second chart, but we finally get that nice red candle there. So at this point, I would go ahead and add. Remember, I told you guys we can only either double our initial position size or contract size or go less than. So I only have the option to add two more or one more. We're never going to add more than our initial position size. Remember, we talked about that. It's going to skew your risk to reward and it's not going to be good for you. Okay. So I'm going to add two more, just going to double it. And just for those wondering, when you're actually in a trade in real life and you want to add, you just click the buy button twice or the sell button twice. If you're in shorts, you already sold, you just sell again. If you're in longs, you already bought, you just buy again. Okay, so the first time I clicked the sell button, got into shorts, I'm just going to click it one more time, and now I add it into the position. All right, so remember, when we add into our position, a very, very important thing to remember is you have to move your stop loss, okay? Because I was initially risking less than $1,000. If I leave my stop up here, I'm risking way too much, okay? So at this point, I would go ahead and move to break even. And again, remember, it's very important to add at key levels as well so that you can have a level of reference or a point of reference to use for your stop loss as well. So if I wanted to, I can move it right above the level. I can leave it at break even until we start to flush a little bit more. Usually I will leave it at break even until we start to continue coming down to our levels. Now, like I told you guys, once we get past that first TP, second TP, I'll start trailing just level to level to level. Okay? Level to level. Very simple. That's why it's very good to have your level so you know when to move your stop loss, when to trail. It makes everything a lot simpler. It's not based on a certain amount of ticks. It's not based on a dollar amount. It's not based on how I feel. It's just based on the levels. Everything I do is based on the key levels. Okay. So let us continue. Once we break this 750 level, we come on down to 730 and then we can start trailing some more. So we broke 750 very clean. So I'm going to go ahead and move right above that level. And I'm just going to keep doing the same thing until I get stopped out. every single trade. If you watch the videos, it's exactly what I do every single trade. Just keep moving down till we get stopped out. Every time we break a new level. All right, we basically broke the 730 level. I'm not going to give it too much room to breathe. I'm just going to go ahead and keep trailing. All right, that's just how I do it. Like I said yesterday, if you're the type of person who does want to just give it a little bit more room, just for the sake of giving it more room, you can do that. All right, we're bouncing at the 715 level, but we're still under 730. So at this point, I'm just gonna let it stay until we break the next level, right? That's how it works. You give the trade room as long as it's under your key level, and we need to break this next one. If not, we get stopped here. That's following the plan, okay? That's following the plan. All right, so let's see what we do. All right, we break the next level, 715. Again, we're just trailing level to level at this point. All right, next level is going to be the 700. All right. And we broke that level. It's very simple. You just keep trailing level to level to level. Now, I told you guys yesterday, you guys remember yesterday in the example, I told you guys when we don't have levels anymore, we have really big space. I'll start trailing right behind the wicks. So I can show you an example of that. I also told you guys you can just use the levels. So you really could just leave your stop loss right above 700 until you hit the next level. But I'm going to do what I did yesterday in the example because that's just how I trade in real life. Once we've cleared past all the levels or there's a big enough gap, I'll just trail behind the candles, okay? Because I don't like to lose too much, okay? If price does end up reversing, okay? So let's see. Okay, we get closed there. So at this point, the next level down is just so far. I'm just gonna trail right behind the wicks and just get stopped out when I get stopped out, okay? And oh, okay. And so that's where I would get stopped out. Okay, so this is full example of basically everything we talked about yesterday. Stop loss, entry, position size, adding, trailing. Okay? Everything over and over and over and over and over. Same thing over and over and over. And I think, I don't know, did we come up again? Okay, we eventually came back up. Okay, so that's just another example. All right. I think that makes sense. I would hope so. If it doesn't make sense, make sure you guys ask questions tomorrow. Okay. Okay, but that's exactly what I do every single day. Like I said, y'all go watch the videos. That's exactly what I do. Just level to level. Obviously, you can't see the levels on my Ninja Trader. But like I said, when we run out of levels or there's big space in between, I'm just right behind the wicks. That's why I wanted to show you guys a 15-second example because this is exactly how I am usually doing it on all the videos that you guys watch. But like I said before, you don't have to use the 15-second, right? This same trade literally could have been taken on the 1 minute. All right, let's see here. Oopsies, I'm moving stuff around, right? Entry, still trail level to level as price breaks it. You really would have had the same exit, maybe just a little bit higher because you don't see where the 15-second levels are. So you probably just would have got stopped out right above 700. Still level to level to level. Same exact thing. You don't have to use the 15-second if you don't want to. Okay? Okay. The stop loss is above the key level 800. Okay, that's where it's the key level. We got into shorts at 800, so the stop loss is above the 800 level. Okay, I saw that question pop up, but I don't have the chat actually open, guys, so please don't get mad. All right, I'm going back to the other chart. Going back to the other chart. No, I'm going back to the PowerPoint. And now we're going to talk about psychology. But that's everything, step by step by step. Okay. It's very simple. Like I said, you're not going to always be able to catch every single trade the way you want to catch it. Like I said yesterday, the example we looked at, we kind of saw the same thing today, but it didn't fully play out the same way. Right. But you can't be mad and say, oh, now I'm just going to change strategies and just give up or something. You can't do that. It doesn't work like that. You're not going to be perfect every single time. You just keep following the plan, trade by trade by trade, and that'll sustain you. Okay? Okay. Now, I think I'm back on the PowerPoint. And now I'm going to talk to you guys about psychology. Okay? All right. So we're going to talk about psychology now because it's very, very important. And I need to make myself smaller so I can see everything. Okay. Now, a lot of you guys, y'all know, y'all have probably heard, there's not a lot of profitable traders. If you've been trading for a while, you know, we always see this number 5%, 10%. Only 1% of traders are profitable. Whatever the number is, the point is, it's a very, very small percentage of traders that are actually profitable. Okay? Trading is very, very mentally challenging or taxing, whatever the word is, right? It challenges you mentally, emotionally, psychologically, all of those things. And a lot of people think they can just get, you know, a course or whatever, or watch a little video and learn how to chart and just start making a bunch of money, right? It doesn't work like that. Of course, we all started trading because we saw someone making money trading. We wanted to do it too. But when you put all of your focus around that, it just it doesn't work out. Okay. So, like I said, trading is 80% psychology, 20% strategy, and being able to control yourself and master your mind and having emotional intelligence is going to be very, very, very important. Like I just said, what I've seen just as a teacher, mentor, trading mentor over the years is that this is one of the biggest things that stop people from actually progressing in their trading journey, which is why so many stop so quickly because they realize you don't just get to start trading and make all this money immediately. It doesn't work like that. And anyone that tells you that is lying to you and they're just trying to trick you and take your money. Okay? It doesn't work like that. Trading will never work like that. If it does work like that, you probably got lucky for a little bit, okay? And it's going to be a struggle initially. You're not going to just make all this money and be happy forever starting off. You're going to struggle. And you can't just chase money, okay? Like it says here, trading requires deep market knowledge and proper education. Lack of education leads to costly mistakes and losses. If you don't focus on actually learning and following a process and following a plan, and your entire goal is to come out with money on day one, you're going to most likely fail. And that's why, when I told you guys, just trust me, trust me, trust me as we go through this. Don't focus on just trying to get to the trading part of the strategy. Don't focus on just trying to make money and get to that point. Because I promise you right now, I promise you, promise you, promise you, if you skip over everything and you just want to focus on placing that trade, hitting the buy sell button, you're not going to last. I promise you. You're just, I hate to say it, but you're not going to last. And I know we have a lot of new people in here. That's why I'm saying it so much. You can't focus on just the money. Focus on learning a skill, right? That's why you guys are here. So you guys are all doing great, but you have to focus on learning each individual step. Like I told you guys, if you don't listen to everything I told you and you still want to jump ahead and think you know everything immediately, it's not going to work for you. Okay. All right. Don't focus on the money. Focus on actual learning and developing the skill. Okay. Okay. Second reason that so many people fail is emotional trading and a lack of discipline. Okay. For those that have been trading for a long time, you guys know we get in our own way, right? We get greedy, we get fearful, we get angry, and it just causes us to make very, very bad decisions. And if you guys are new, you might experience this. Hopefully you don't. We're going to talk about some examples in a second. Like it says here, some techniques to stay calm and focused during your trades. Okay, so hopefully you don't have to go through that, but just know that trading does it just brings a lot of negative emotions out of you, right? You're dealing with money. And if you don't know how to control yourself, if you don't have any discipline, then it is going to show in your trading. And that's why I tell people all the time, discipline in your regular life, right? Your everyday life will translate over to your trading. If you're not a disciplined person, if you don't know how to follow a plan and just stay focused in real life, you're going to struggle as a trader because it all carries over. You don't get to be reckless and undisciplined and doing whatever you want in your everyday life and think you're going to be this great, amazing trader. It doesn't work like that, okay? So we need to make sure that we're not letting our emotions control us because for a lot of people, that is their issue, right? They understand the charts, they understand, how to do their technical analysis, they understand even where to get their entries at, okay? But they just can't control themselves. For me, I had this issue when I first started, very bad, okay? So that's that. And like I said, we're going to talk about a few things, like it says here, to prevent emotional trading. We're going to do some checklists, some things that we can do during the session, to make sure that we're not going crazy. Okay. And then the last reason that I see so many people fail is poor risk management, right? This is a very simple one. Again, this is something that I struggle with as well. And hopefully you guys don't have to struggle with this too much because, we talked about risk management. Okay. But this just is stuff like setting your stop loss at an appropriate level or not getting into a bunch of contracts when you have a 50K account, right? Or a 25K account, right? It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Little stuff like that, just regarding risk management, not over trading and freaking out. Like it says here, using losses as learning opportunities as opposed to getting mad and just panicking. And yeah, that's what I used to do. Okay. So It's a big thing. It's a big thing for a lot of people. Like I said here, also following a proper risk reward ratio. I told you guys yesterday, I'm not too strict on like I need to get out the trade here. I'm very flexible with my take profit, but just the overall strategy and plan that you follow, you want to make sure that your wins are bigger than your losses, okay? Even if you do have a lower win rate, which a lot of people think you have to have a 90% win rate to be this great trader, that's not true. You need to be able to manage your risk and control your losses. You could have a 50% win rate, 40% win rate, and still be profitable because your wins are really big and your losses are small. For me, when I first started, I was, on the 15-second chart, trading at a 90% win rate, but I was very unprofitable because I didn't know how to hold my trades. And then whenever I would take a bad trade, it would be this huge trade and wipe out everything. So win rate doesn't really matter. It's about protecting your losses, having good risk management. Okay. That's really going to be the main thing in trading. And a lot of people try to tell you, oh, your win rate, your win rate. It doesn't matter about the win rate. Like I said, someone can have a 90% win rate and still be extremely unprofitable. Okay. Okay. So those are the top three reasons why I see or what I see, in trading and why so many people struggle. Okay. And obviously, it's just a very common thing. For those that have been trading for a while, this is the struggle. A lot of people have issues with all of these things, one of these things, whatever the case may be. Okay. So now I want to show you guys or talk to you guys just a little bit about rewiring your brain. And then we'll do some examples of things that you can do during the actual session to help yourself, get through those struggles that you're having. And when I say rewiring your brain, is because the way that we have been raised and grown up in regular society, it doesn't align with trading. It doesn't work well with trading. Okay. Our thought processes, the way that we do things, decide things, make decisions, it does not align with trading. Okay. So to help us rewire our brains, the first thing that we need to learn how to do is embrace our losses. And I kind of just talked about this a little bit on the last slide. Okay. But you guys are going to lose. I'm going to lose. Okay. So it's not a y'all thing. But the point is, as traders, we're going to lose. And especially as someone who's new, if you come into trading feeling like you are not supposed to have all these losses and you should understand everything by now, you can't do that to yourself. Okay. You have to understand when you're taking a loss, because you're going to take them. Sorry for hitting the mic. It's not you failing. Like it says here, losses are lessons, not failures. Okay. If you can come out saying, well, what did I do wrong? How can I do better next time? Then you're going to be fine. Just as an example, if you keep getting stopped out every time you get into a trade and then the market goes your way right after, you need to ask yourself, well, what's the reason? Is my stop loss too close? Am I trailing too tight? What's going on? Okay. Or, if you just get into a bad trade in general, did I not really have a clear entry? Was I too early? Did I hesitate maybe? All right, what was the actual reason? Not just, oh gosh, I suck. Or oh my gosh, it's just not working for me. Okay, so like it says here, reframe every loss as a stepping stone to improvement. And also, guys, a lot of you guys are new, and I see you guys sometimes in the Discord. I don't understand what's going on. I took a loss here. I just don't get it. I feel like I'm just not doing good. It's only been a month, or it's been a month of me trading, as if that's a long time. You guys have to understand it's not an overnight thing. A month is very short. Some people are doing this for years before they finally have something click, right? Hopefully for you guys, it doesn't have to take that long. But the point is, don't get upset because you're not where you want to be yet. For everyone, it's going to be an individual process and an individual journey. You're not going to be profitable as fast as somebody else, and you might be profitable faster than somebody else, okay? So don't worry about that. Just focus on when you are losing, you are figuring out how can I do better next time, right? Every time you make a mistake, if you have a list of 5 mistakes, right? At least pick one of those mistakes and figure out how can I continue to fix this and be aware of it every single time you trade, okay? All right, so that's the first thing. Embrace your losses. It doesn't make you a failure to lose, all right? The second thing is going to be to focus on the overall process as opposed to focusing on the results. This is kind of like how I just talked about, not focusing on just money, money, money. Okay? Think in probabilities, like it says here. Success comes from consistency, not perfection. You can't go into the market saying, I want to make $200 today and then $1,000 tomorrow and then $5,000 by the end of the week. Okay, you can't do that. You can't go into the market saying that you have to make this certain amount of money and you need this result for you to be okay. Okay, it's just not going to get you anywhere. Like I said, it's a bad habit and we don't want to form bad habits. We only want to do things that are going to sustain us in the long run. If you focus on the process, focus on the plan that I've taught you, right? Step by step, then you can repeat that and it might work 60% of the time or 70% or 80% of the time. And if that's the case, then those one, two, five, whatever losses, they're not going to affect you. They're not going to define you as a trader. Okay. But the point is, you have to understand that it's about everything that's happening or all the trades, right? Maybe the next 100 trades, you might have 20 losses. 300 trades, you might have 60 losses. 500 trades, you might have 100 losses. And in the moment, those losses can feel so small, okay? But you have to realize the overall grand scheme of things. I think if that's the right word. Okay? Maybe that's the right word. So just focus on staying consistent, following a plan. You don't have to focus on having all these goals. Like trading and having goals is great. It really is. But for me, this is just personally or my personal experience. When I set very aggressive goals, like I said before, I want to make $5,000 this week, or I want to pay off something, or I want to go buy this, right? When I say that I have to trade for something, it puts this pressure on me to where I'm no longer trading to follow my plan, but I'm trading because I just need something or I want something. Okay, I'm only focused on results. So really, really try not to trade for any other reason but just to follow your plan and learn, right? If it's any other reason than just learning and getting better, then don't do it because you're gonna mess yourself up. Okay? So that's the second thing. And the third thing is going to be getting comfortable with discomfort, okay? Getting comfortable being uncomfortable. All right? Just understanding, like I said before, that the way we're raised is not meant to be, or just it doesn't align with being a good trader. Okay? For example, we're taught in life to protect the little that we have or protect what is valuable to us. And so, just as an example, right, we get into a trade. This was me when I first started. I'm up 20 ticks, $200. I close the trade. I can't stand to even think about losing this little $200 that I made, right? And so for me, that's why I said before I would get these little wins, little win, bunch of wins, and then these huge losses because every time I have a tiny win, I'm scared to let it go. So I grab it instead of giving the trade room to run and, trailing my stop loss how I should or whatever the case may be. Okay. That's an example. Or being hopeful when things are going bad, right? We all know when stuff is bad, we try to, you know, not be super negative about it and say things will get better, right? And so in trading, that might look like, oh, I'm in a losing trade, but things will get better. Let me just stay in this trade. Okay, let me keep moving my stop loss further and further and further away because things will get better. Price will go back in my direction. Okay. That type of mindset is not going to work as a trader. And so, just stuff like that, you have to be conscious of in the moment, thinking about in the moment, and say to yourself, although this is making me feel uncomfortable, although this goes against what I'm used to doing or how I feel, I need to push past that. It's really a part of emotional intelligence, asking yourself, or saying to yourself, I know that I feel this way, but I'm going to, in this moment, combat that or go against the way that I feel because I know that it's not going to help me in the moment. Like I said, for me, I really, really had a big struggle with holding my trades. I would just close the trades out because I was up a little bit. In the moment, I literally had to talk to myself and say, okay, I get that I am scared and nervous because I just don't want to lose this money. But I've seen over and over and over, every time I close the trade, it just keeps going. Okay. So even though I feel uncomfortable, even though I don't like how this feels and I'm scared, I'm just going to let it keep going. And eventually you'll train yourself to get over all that fear and all, whatever discomfort that you're having. So the point is just get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay. However you need to do that. And all this stuff comes from this book here. Some of you guys may have read it. If you're new, maybe you haven't read it. And so I always recommend this in every single one of my boot camps, every single one of my mentorships, every single one of my one-on-ones. I always recommend this book because for me, it has been, or it was when I first read it a few years ago, such a big help for me. It's just really a big help. Just read it. Okay. Yes, it is a must read for anyone who is a trader. It's going to definitely help you if you struggle psychologically and you have trouble controlling yourself and all of that kind of stuff. All right. So Best Loser Wins by Tom. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm not going to try. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna try. By Tom. Okay, why normal thinking never wins the trading game. Okay, so you guys can definitely read that. Hugard. Okay, Tom Hugard. All right, that was good. Okay, so this is the book y'all need to read. All right, so now we're gonna go over a little bit of, or a few examples of what you can do during the actual trading session to relax yourself and to not do bad things. All right. And these are things that I did all of these things in real life. Like I said, I tell you guys all the time, I'm not gonna tell you something that I didn't do or go over a trade that I won't take or stuff like that, right? So all this stuff is stuff I did in real life. Like I have a journal, but I moved like 2 months ago, so I don't know where it's at. But I would show you guys, okay? So this is the first thing. First thing is going to be to handwrite a trade recap journal every single trade. Okay? When I say handwrite, I mean handwrite, like pen, paper, write. Not after, you're done trading the whole session. In between every single trade. This is going to help if you struggle with over trading. Okay? I used to be, you know, in like 50 trades or have taken 50 trades within the first 5 minutes of open and blown the account. And by the time I look up, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's only 9:35. It's only been 5 minutes. How did I blow, my account? How did I take so many trades? Okay. But when you just feeling all those emotions, and you just take a loss, you just want to get it back, get it back, get it back. You could take a bunch of trades in the matter of, minutes. Okay. So for me, I really, really struggle with over trading. If you set this rule for yourself to where every single time I take a trade, I have to write it down and recap it, you're giving your brain, like it says here, a cool down time so that you can process what has happened and to give you time to see the market as it is to avoid overtrading. Okay? Like I said, if you take that break in between, like you have all these emotions rushing through you, you have all this adrenaline rushing through you, but if you, think to yourself, okay, let me just recap this, right? What happened? Like it says here, this is what we do, right? Trade number one was a long or short. Okay, short. Contracts, two contracts, right? Your ticks or the points that you made or lost. Okay. This is the P&L and ticks or points, and then this is the P&L as far as dollar amount. Okay. So $1,250, 125 ticks. If this was a trade I took, I would actually write this down. Okay. You're recapping, recapping, recapping. Instead of having all these emotions going through you, this gives you time to calm down. By the time you look back up, the market might be doing something a little bit different now. And so you can't just rush, 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 rush. You have to give yourself time, look at the market, see what's going on. And so now you can make decisions based on what's going on in the market instead of based on your emotions. Because like I said, when you get into that over trading or revenge trading, it's all emotions, right? I just need to make this money back. So I'm just going to take anything at any point to get my money. Okay. So this is something that really helped me. And I really wish I could show y'all because I really did do this. Okay. For a while. And it really did help. Okay. That's the first thing. Trade journal, but actually handwritten. All right. Second thing is going to be to have a blank sheet of paper. And after every trade, you write W or L in a random area every time you take a trade, depending on whether it's a win or loss. Okay. This goes back to what we was talking about, focusing on the process and not the results. And like it says here, this is going to help you visually see that the outcome of each trade is random, but it's the outcome of your next 100 or 500 trades that actually matter, right? Stay consistent and don't focus on the outcome of one trade, okay? So like I said before, if you can repeat a process that works 60% of the time, 70% of the time, those little losses that you have aren't going to matter. Okay. It's not going to define you as a trader. And when you're writing them out, you can see everything is independent of, the other or from the other. Okay. And for me, this was super important because, well, like it says here, this will help you remember that each trade is its own and you don't base your next trade on the fact that you won or lost before. Okay. Letting the trade play out according to its own plan. Like I said, for me, what I really, really struggled with was being so scared to lose money that I already made. Right. So it wasn't even the fact that I took a loss. I could have just taken a really good trade. Maybe I made $1,000, right? 1,200, 500, whatever the case may be. I was so scared to lose the money I just made that I wouldn't manage the next trade properly. Okay. Remember, I told you guys that when we're placing a trade and, we're figuring out our stop loss, it needs to be at a level according to the technicals, right? Whether it's 100 ticks away, 50 ticks away, whatever the case may be, it needs to be according to the technicals so that you're giving the trade room to play out. What I would do was be so scared to lose the money that I just made that I wouldn't manage the trade how it needed to be managed. So if I'm supposed to place my stop loss here, get into the trade here, I wouldn't do that because I don't want to lose $500, right? I don't want to risk half of what I just made. So I'm going to move my stop up and just hope, hope, hope that the market just goes straight to my take profit, right? That's such a bad thing to do. And, sometimes we think that the only thing that is going to negatively affect us is having losses. But no, even winning trades can negatively affect us when we get to the point where it's like, oh, I just need to protect this money. I can't lose this money. And then you start making bad decisions that affect you in the next trade. And I've done it so many times where I would stop myself out of a trade red because I didn't give it enough room, and then it goes right my way. Okay. So this really just helped me to see that every trade is its own, right? It doesn't matter what happened in the last trade. If I took a loss last trade, I'm still going to manage this next trade exactly the same as I would any other trade. If I took a win last trade, it doesn't matter. That is, I don't even remember that, right? I'm only focused on what's going on in this trade. I'm only focused on my stop loss in this trade, my contract size in this trade, my take profit in this trade, everything only in this current trade, right? I'm not going to base it based on anything else, okay? So that's the second thing that's going to be really important if you do struggle with that, right? Everybody struggles with different things, okay? But that's something I really, really did have a problem with, all right? That's the second thing. And then the third thing is going to be to talk through your trades and process your thoughts out loud. Okay, now this might feel weird to some of you guys, but I did this. Like before I even started live trading, when I first started live trading in July of, I think 2 years ago, right? When I first started, or before I first started, I was recording my trades. I was talking into the camera. I was acting like I was speaking to people to get out of my head, right? Like it says here, this helps avoid being in your head and overcome your subconscious mind, which operates out of fear and only acts to avoid pain. Okay. So I would be talking out my trades. All right. Well, all right, I'm getting into longs because I see this happening here. All right. I kind of want to move my stop, but I can see clearly we're holding this level. So I'm going to leave my stop until we get to this next level. All right, guys, I'm trailing my stop here. Right. You're not actually talking to anybody, but when you're walking yourself through the trade, instead of being in your head, because when you're in your head, you have 1,000 thoughts going through your head every 5 seconds, right? Get out. No, stay in. Oh my gosh, you're gonna lose money. Oh my gosh, add into the position. Oh my gosh, whatever this is, right? You have all these thoughts going through your head. There's a lot going on. You do whatever you want to do in the moment. And this just helps to kind of silence the inner thoughts in your head and just speak out loud based on what's actually happening, right? You're just talking about what's actually happening and what you're going to do in the moment, okay? That's the third thing. It's very simple. Like I said, it might feel weird, but I did it and it's something that really helps. And I noticed, even when I was live trading, right, I did so much better because I can't sit there and just be in my head the whole time, right? I have to talk to people, I have to explain everything. And so I can only make those decisions that really make sense, right? I can't just do crazy stuff, right? I'm in front of people and I'm not in my head, right? Everything has to be according to the chart. Okay, so that's something that's going to help you. Okay. Okay. Now, we've gone through those three things. Those are three things that you could do during the session, during the trading session that could help you depending on what you're struggling with. Now, before we end for our sixth day, I'm just going to talk about prop firms, just for anyone who's new and doesn't really know anything about them. And then I'll talk about TradeZella, the trading journal that I use, and then I'll give you guys the codes to those, which is all the same code, right? And then I'll just talk a little bit about the liquidity mapping that I'm developing in case anyone wants to use that for your level 2 data on your NinjaTrader chart, which is what I'm using. If you guys have seen it in the videos, don't have to if you don't want to, okay? But let's talk about the prop firms and everything first, okay? So this is the first prop firm I use. This is the second prop firm I use, right? These are the two main prop firms. It's going to be Apex and Take Profit Trader. All right, there's so many more prop firms, right? Y'all know there's so many more prop firms, and I can't speak on a prop firm that I haven't used, but I know there's a lot more just in case you guys want to look out there and see what rules might work for you, what you just like best, okay? Because all of them have different rules. All of them might work differently with the way that you trade. Okay, but this is the first one that I use. It's Apex. And with a prop firm, just for those that don't, yes, Apex has gotten better. They have new rules, right? Not denying payouts anymore, all that extra stuff. Okay? Yes, if you want to reuse the code, you can always reuse the code. It's not going to expire. You can always just use it for however many accounts you want. Okay, but anyways, for those that don't know what a prop firm is in the first place, this is going to allow you to trade and get payouts and make money without risking your own money. Okay, you don't have to put in, $1,000 into a live brokerage account to trade. They basically say, give me a small little fee, right? And Apex is going to be the most or the least expensive one out of all the prop firms that I know so far. If anyone knows anyone that is less expensive, then you let me know or let everyone know. But right now, Apex is the least expensive prop firm. They always have discounts going on. So if you are wanting to get an account, it might be like, just say $30. Okay. Lucid's one of them. Okay. So it might be $30. They're going to say, okay, you give me $30. And if you can make $3,000 and not lose 2,500, then I'm going to give you an account. Okay. That's basically what it is. You have to pass a test, and when you pass the test, they give you an account. You can now start getting payouts out of that funded account that you have gotten from passing. Okay, so a lot of prop firms have different payout rules, but with Apex's updated structure, they have payouts every 5 days with 100% profit split. Okay, I would never touch. Um, a payout, when you get a payout, that's when you make money. So like, for example, it's not your real money, obviously. Like you don't own $50,000 when you get a prop firm account. It's not your money. But when you make money on the account, everything over 50,000, you get to keep that money, as long as you adhere to their rules. So they might say after your first payout, you can get $1,000. So if you made $2,000, you go ahead and pull out, 1,000, and you just keep getting payouts from there, right? Following their rules. Okay. That's how that works. Profit splits for every company is also going to be different, but with Apex's updated rules, this is their payout days and their profit split. All right. Now with Apex, they're always having discounts, at least 50%. So you can always use IBLV code for 50%, but most of the time they have 80% and 90% off. Right now they have 80% off. Okay. So if you wanted to do that, that's one of the prop firms that I personally use or used when I was trading prop firms. Okay. Now live account. Okay, but this is the second prop firm, which is Take Profit Trader. A lot of people also love this one, especially with their everyday payouts. And same concept, you just have to pass a test. And if you can pass their test where you make a certain amount of money, then you get to have a funded account and you can start getting payouts once you reach a certain threshold. Again, always make sure you're reading their rules, following, whatever the rules may be for every single prop firm, but you'll be good as long as you follow the rules. Okay. They have different rules in Apex, so I could read them all, but you can go through them. You'll need to go to their site and read all their rules for all the prop firms. Any prop firm you want to, you know, go to. But as far as Take Profit Trader, now they have daily payouts. So you can get paid every single day as long as you are making money, right? And you're meeting their thresholds and following their rules. But they do have an 80-20 profit split, meaning you can only keep 80% of what you make, they get 20, right? As opposed to Apex's new structure. They used to have 90-10, but now with their current accounts, you get all of it, right? 100%. And then, like I said, Take Private Trader, 80-20. 80-20, that's still really good. Did you have the money to begin with? No, you wouldn't have made it without them, so it doesn't really matter, right? It's just 80-20 is not bad. Okay, and then in their higher tier accounts, they have 90-10, right? But you're going to start at 80-20 when you first get your funded account. Okay, right now, I think they have 40% off right now. Okay, they're 40% off. So you can use the code IBLV. It's either gonna be 30 or 40. I think it's 40 right now. All right, so those are the two that I use personally. Is gonna be Take Profit Trader and Apex, right? Those are the two that I use. And then when we're talking about platforms, Ninja Trader, Trade Ninja Trader and Trade. All the prop firms tell you which, and wealth charts. All the prop firms will tell you which platforms you can use. Okay, so this is an example of how many contracts you should be trading generally, based on these prop firm account sizes. This was based on Apex before they just changed their account. So they don't have 300 and 250K anymore, but they are working on more accounts. I think some straight to live options or straight to funded options. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but if they do have 250 and 300K again, that's why I left it. But this is basically something that you could follow if you have no idea where to even start, as far as managing risk with a prop firm. So this here is going to be, it's a heavy risk though. So this is 10% of your drawdown. This is 10% of your drawdown. Now, like I said before, if you're new, you could definitely make that smaller. You can go 5%, 2%, 1% per trade to make sure that you're giving yourself more room. Reason being, obviously, if you risk 10% per trade, that only gives you 10 trades until you blow the account. Okay? So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you just do a smaller percentage. All right. So with all these different accounts, you have different profit goals. 25K account, 1500, 50K account, 30 or 3000, right? All of them have different, you know, profit goals and drawdowns. The drawdown is the max amount you can lose before you end up blowing the account. Okay. So the max risk per trade is based on the drawdown, not the profit goal, not the account size, right? Max risk per trade is based on drawdown because drawdown is really how much you can lose. So when you think about these prop firms, don't think that you actually have $25,000 or $150,000. Don't think that. Really, if you have a $150,000 account, you only have 5,000. Okay. If you have a 25K account, you only have 1,500. Okay. You think about it like that. Don't think you actually have all this money. You don't. This is the only amount of money you really have to trade with because if you lose this, you're done. Right. So these are the amount of contracts I recommend to trade if you're going to follow the 10%. Right. But if you don't want to follow the 10%, you want to go smaller, obviously you can size down on your contract size. But this is just general, you know, general suggestions based on the different account sizes. Okay. All right. So that's just an example. If you want to take a picture of that, you can take a picture of it. If you want to create your own little chart for how many contracts you want to trade based on your risk, you could do that. If you want to do 5% or 2%, right? But this is again 10% per trade, which for a beginner, this could be a little aggressive if you feel like, sorry, if you feel like you're just going to lose 10 trades in a row. Okay. So it's really up to you. All right. So we talked about prop firms. This is now me just briefly talking about TradeZella, which is the trade journaling platform that I use. So you can upload all your trades into it. It really helps you understand everything. Okay. So comprehensive trade tracking, customizable reports, user-friendly interface, support for various trading instruments and brokers. Okay. It's a really cool trading journaling platform. Whenever I take a trade in NinjaTrader, download the CSV, upload it. Actually, NinjaTrader live accounts are compatible. So like whenever I take trades in NinjaTrader, it automatically uploads into TradeZella. The only time I would have to upload is when I had a prop firm account. Again, super easy. Download the CSV, upload it. And then everything shows up and you can see everything. Like for me, a while ago when I started using it, I realized that all my pre-market trades are basically losers. Okay. Not all of them, but like it kind of just balanced out. Like it was really no point in me trading pre-market. Okay. So if you have something like this, like a trade journaling platform that shows you everything very clearly, it'll help you make some good decisions with your trading. So for me, I basically stopped trading pre-market because I realized it's not really doing anything for me. Obviously, there were things that I could have fixed during pre-market to do better, but it's just at this point right now, let me just not trade pre-market, okay? Or let me not trade after 11 o'clock, like things like that. It'll show you every single thing that's going on in your trading, break down everything. It's really, really cool. Okay. So with TradeZella, you can also use the code IBLV. You don't have to remember these codes because it's all the same code. IBLV and they will give you 20% off any plan that you decide to get with them. Really good journaling platform. All right. And then the last thing before we close out, what time is it? I don't even know. All right, but last time or last thing before we close out, I'll just tell you guys a little bit about liquidity mapping. I'm not talking about the full automation right now, guys. I'm not talking about the full automation, okay? Because the liquidity mapping for manual traders will come out first, okay? And so basically, all it is going to overlay your level two data in NinjaTrader for you. That's the first thing. Also, you'll be able to see news and everything. You'll be able to see when there's news that comes up, but you can see all these different features here. So the main thing, the main way that I use it, because at first I was using Bookmap, but you have to have one screen Bookmap. You have to have your trading view open. If you're trading in NinjaTrader, you have to have your NinjaTrader open. So it's kind of just a lot going on. And I think it's really cool to have your level two data sitting directly in your face. You can take trades right based on that. Okay. Also, being able to see when there's news. In the past, even sometimes when I was live trading, like I would forget there's news, I would get into a trade and then bam, stopped out. But now having news right in your face with an indicator on the chart that shows you when there's news, it just helps you not to get into crazy trades, right before news. All right. So you'll have your level two data. You can set your custom thresholds. Obviously, I'll give you guys the defaults for what I use as far as thresholds because every single level in the order book is not going to be super important, right? So there are certain levels that are going to be stronger or that I like to use. So those will be in there, but you can also set your custom thresholds, obviously, if you want. Spoof visibility, so you'll see orders coming in and out the market. You know, if it's something that's not real or someone's trying to manipulate in the market, you'll be able to see the orders coming in and out, popping in and out. Okay. So you can see that consumption tracking, right? Just a bunch of different stuff. If there's still liquidity at the level, then you'll be able to see it if it's of importance, right? After price touches it. So you'll be able to see, was all the liquidity absorbed or are there still, levels there? We have respect and retest recognition. So just because we break a level, same thing I do in real life. It's just like it's in your face, it's on your chart, which is why I like it. You don't have to really think too much about it and transfer everything over. But yeah, if we break a level, we're still respecting it. It'll keep it on the chart until it's disrespected, everything like that. You can see NQ and MNQ combined on either chart, whether you're trading NQ or MNQ. This is really great because, like I told you guys, for some reason, a lot of the levels are on M and Q. So if you're trading NQ, you still can make sure you're watching those levels because all of the levels are going to be on your chart. Like if you look at it here, there's no orange up here, but if it was orange, you would see that's NQ and M and Q. But you can see here the green is NQ, the blue is M and Q. Okay, so you can tell the difference between the levels. You can also select to turn it off if you want, but it would be best to have the combined view, right? So you don't have to have two charts open. Again, everything is going to be in your face. Okay. Like I said before, you got the news. So it shows you all the news during the session. You'll be able to choose what impact you want to show: high impact, low impact, medium impact. I generally like to just show medium and up. So orange folder and red folder, it'll all show on the chart here. Obviously, you can't really see exactly what the news was today or on that day, but you'll be able to see that. And like I said, also pre-impact news shading will show you when there's about to be news. So you don't even have to pay attention up here. There will be a little indicator at the bottom of the chart that'll let you know there's news that's about to happen. So if you're in a position, protect the position or close the trade, whatever the case may be. All right. So this is just the basic little walkthrough of kind of what it is as far as what the indicator does. It's for everybody, anyone that would want to join later on. It's not for Discord members specifically, but it's for anyone who just wants to use it. And I know that a lot of people don't use NinjaTrader right now. It's strictly built for NinjaTrader. So there will be a full NinjaTrader breakdown soon that's going to come out to help you set up everything if that's something you do want to do. Obviously, you don't have to do it, right? You could still use Bookmap if you want. It's just for me, there's so much stuff going on in Bookmap. It's kind of hard to understand, especially for a lot of new people. This is something that's a lot more simple, and takes away all the confusion. It's just right in your face. Everything's very simple. Okay. And it's just the stuff you need, right? As opposed to all the extra stuff. Um, yeah, there are a lot of YouTube videos as well that break down how to use NinjaTrader. But yeah, so if you do want to use NinjaTrader, I'll have a video for it. But if you don't want to use NinjaTrader, then you could just use TradingView or TradeOvate and then get Bookmap right on the side. It's really up to you. All right, so that's just a little bit about that. As far as when it'll be available, I think somebody asked that. It'll be available. I'm aiming for the end of April. End of April. Um, it's matching the Bookmap levels, Claudia. Now, I didn't show the plans on here, but if you go to the site with the QR code, you'll see, I'll answer all the questions tomorrow if you guys have more questions. But if you go to the site and you look at the plans, you'll see it'll say updates. You get updates. So whenever there are updates, because I do want to add, our supply and demand zones, any other key levels, so it really just replicates the daily levels, it'll do that. And you'll get updates for that when it does happen. So right now, it's not going to show support and resistance. This is for level two data specifically. Level two data, right? Resting limit orders on the chart. Okay. Yeah, you wouldn't need Bookmap if you got this, but I'm saying for those that don't want to use NinjaTrader and they don't want to use this, you can always get Bookmap. Yeah, you can always get Bookmap, but this is just on your chart. So it's not a separate platform. Okay, you're welcome. And so, guys, basically, that's all the extra things, the extra little things that I use. Like I said, you got your prop firms, TradeZella, and then the liquidity mapping suite will be coming soon, hopefully by the end of April. And then when automation is going to come out or when it's getting close to launch, we'll do another webinar and talk about that for those that are interested. But right now, focus on learning, guys. Okay, focus on learning. All right. This is now the end, right? Before we close, just remember, guys, like it says here, trading is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Stay disciplined and focus on growth. Like we talked about, right? It's not a race, okay? It's not you got to do it super fast and make all this money. Just focus on learning, focus on the process. Okay. So as you continue to learn and trade and grow, next step, sorry, commit to journaling every trade and emotion. Okay. If you're new, it'll be very good to journal. I have a journal of all my feelings and all my emotions when I first started, why I took trades, everything like that. It's really fun to look at, as you progress in your trading. It's like, what was I thinking? What was I doing? It's crazy. Okay. So it's cool to do that. It's also helpful in the moment just to like, journal everything. All right. Journal what's going on. Journal your progress. Okay. Also, practice before going live. You don't have to just start trading a live account immediately and just losing money. You can practice, right? If you want to paper trade and learn, you could do that. You know what? You don't even have to paper trade first. You could just do some charting and just practice your charting, right? Like I said, it's really no rush. Just step by step, go through everything and focus on learning, okay? Last thing, stay active in the Discord for resources and community support. So, you guys have all the extra stuff in the Discord. I think there's maybe one or two emails that I need to respond to that came in like 2 hours before this session started about the Discord. So I'm gonna get back to you guys on that. But most of you guys have access to the Discord. Okay. But remember, you have access to so many additional videos, right? And even though there's no live trading right now, you can see those videos and exactly how I used to trade live, or watch the pre-market videos and see how I do my charting. Okay. You can watch all of that stuff or just watch some educational videos, educational charting sessions, breaking down everything step by step, ATM strategy, trailing stop loss, everything like that. You can find all that kind of stuff in the Discord in the educational calls. Okay. So that's that. And like I said before, remember, just focus on learning. Growth comes from education, discipline, and proper risk management. All right. This is going to be your journey, guys. You're going to start out, you might get a little bit cocky and then you start losing again. And then, okay, no. Hopefully you guys just have a nice little journey, but it's different for everybody. All right. It's different for everybody. What time is it? Ooh, it's 8:12. I didn't know it was 8:12. I'm sorry, guys. I am so sorry. I did not see the time. I was about to go through the thing and like answer a few questions, but it's 8:12. All right, tomorrow we're gonna answer all the questions. Okay, wait, let me ask y'all real quick. It's 181 people left on here. A lot of people already got off. A lot of people got off. Let me ask y'all, do y'all want me to get on? Okay, because the Q&A session is going to be really long, right? And if it goes past a certain time, I have to stop it. But do you want to start? Like, can y'all start earlier? Do y'all want to start at 6 EDT instead of 7, and then we go till 8? That way we have 2 hours. Can y'all do that? Yeah? Yes? Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Okay. So, okay, well, it's okay because you still get on at 7. Okay, so for the Q&A session tomorrow, guys, we're going to get on 1 hour early so that we can have 2 hours of Q&A. Okay? If you can't get on an hour early, that's fine. Because at least some of the questions will already be out the way. So that means you won't have to wait as long at 7. Okay? Yes, it's still going to be recorded. Everything's going to be recorded in case you missed anything. Okay? So yeah. All right, so we'll do that. I'll send it out in the email just for everyone else to make sure it's confirmed. But we'll do 6 to 8, 2 hours of Q&A for our last Q&A session. Okay? All right. Live trading markup. Like a pre-market analysis, Tanya? Okay, Daniel. Ah, on the Asian. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you get on tomorrow and you ask me if I could do that, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. Just a quick little like charting, of course, I could do that. All right. Okay. For all the people that have questions, then you get on tomorrow. You get on tomorrow. And if y'all have any personal questions, like as far as, Discord or Learning Hub. I'm about to type of the email in, okay? Support at iblvtrading.com. All right. All right. So y'all can send the email there if you have any personal questions. Okay. Yeah, 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 Jeremy. The daily levels are always there in the Discord. Even before the boot camp. Like regular Discord members always have had that. Will I ever live trade again? Oh, I don't know. We'll see. I don't have an answer for that right now. Okay, but I love you guys. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, prepare them for tomorrow. We're getting on an hour early until 8. Okay, but I'll see you guys. All right. Bye bye.